We were on a team night out after we'd won a trophy and Country Roads came on when we were out. And honestly, I think everyone else had to like remove themselves from the dance floor because Chelsea women were just boom in the middle, jumping up and down. And it was just one of those moments when you're looking around and you're like, oh my God, what a team environment. Aww. What a culture. Everyone was so happy. Aww. And I think that memory will stay with me forever because it was that song. The whole team was out and it was like literally like I think I probably pushed about 2 randoms off and I was like, no, we're here. This is our moment.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Welcome to We Are Chelsea, a podcast brought to you from the Chelsea women's team. I'm Kaz Demores and today we have a very special episode with one of the Blues' longest serving players. Arriving in 2015, she has fast become one of the most recognisable faces in the women's game. During her 9 years at the club, she has won 5 WSL titles, 4 FA Cups, has become the club's leading goal scorer, not to mention winning the Euros with the Lionesses. We're going to dive into all of that and find out what it was like from the legend herself. This is Life in Blue with Fran Kirby. Well, Fran, welcome to the podcast. I'm really happy to have you on. Can you paint the picture of where we are at the club?
We are in the beautiful conference room in the club.
I've never been this side of the desk.
It's quite daunting.
It is actually.
And there's not many people in. Imagine when it's full.
Does it feel daunting?
Sometimes, yeah.
Or I guess did it at the start and now you're like, I'll do this.
You do get kind of used to it, but it's still, you don't really know, especially when you're doing a press conference, you don't know what question's going to get thrown at you. And yeah, it can be a little bit daunting, but I think as you do more, you just become accustomed to it.
Okay. I always wonder as well, like, does the press officer tell you like, oh, it's going to be hard today or it's going to be tough or whatever?
If there's a topic out there that maybe is a bit controversial, then yeah, you kind of get told a little bit about it. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's normally there's one that kind of question gets asked and you're a bit thrown off a little bit. But yeah, I think when you've been doing it a long time, you kind of know how to word an answer that maybe helps you out a little bit.
I definitely prefer asking the questions than answering them, so I feel for you. But today should hopefully be very enjoyable. I want to get to know you and your life as a Blue. So can we go back to the very beginning? Can you tell me what it was like right at the start?
Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind, actually. I joined halfway through a season, which is always quite tough as a player coming in because the team obviously has already established itself. The team was in a really good place. And it was after the World Cup in 2015. So it was all very quick because of the transfer deadline and trying to get it all over the, over the final hurdle. And I remember I met my agent, I think it was at a service station. I had to meet them halfway to like discuss where I was going to go and what team I was going to pick. And obviously Chelsea was the one that I went for and we decided it in a service station.
In a service station?
Yeah, that's how women's football was back then. It wasn't these glamour, these big announcements that we get now. I remember I had 3 pieces of paper on a little table down in the women's office and that was my signing on. And I had my agent take a picture. And, that was kind of like me signing. There was no like professional photography or anything like that. So it was very basic back then. Now you get all the nice videos and the big, shirt and everything. So yeah, it was a lot different back then.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. How much has the club changed? Because you've been here so long. And I know speaking to Millie, she was saying, oh, it used to be like little packed lunches and now it's this. Like how much have you seen the club change?
Yeah, well, when I joined, we didn't have changing rooms.
Wow.
And we had 2 sets of kit for the whole week. Had to take your own kit home and wash it. Obviously now we're super lucky that that's all taken care of us and we have abundance amount of training kit that we can use. But yeah, it was very the building that now obviously we have as our building, we shared it. So we didn't have a lunch room, we didn't have a meeting room. It was all very, you turn up, you train and you kind of go home. So yeah, it's definitely changed. And obviously in terms of the whole building of the women's side and the stadium that we're now playing in at Kings Meadow and Stamford Bridge, back then it wasn't like that at all.
Is there a little bit, or maybe now because we're in the future and everything's improved and you're living a different reality, is there a little bit of nostalgia when you look back and go, I know we were sort of rough and ready and we were doing it, but it was quite nice?
Yeah, I think when I first joined Chelsea, you know, there wasn't really much pressure.
Okay.
Because the women's game wasn't at that point yet. You know, of course you have pressure coming in and, you know, obviously I moved from Reading to Chelsea. There was a buyout in that kind of situation. So there was a slight pressure, but in terms of the fans, in terms of the media, you know, it wasn't spoken about so much. Whereas now I think when a player signs for big money now that's happening in the women's game, there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more scrutiny. There's not as much patience maybe as maybe what I had joining Chelsea, because people want results right now, and that's obviously where the business has gone to. But I mean, for me, I'm delighted that the club obviously has grown, and the professionalism in the club and the players that I've been able to play with at this club as well is something that I am so proud of, to be able to say that I've played with some amazing players. So when I first joined Chelsea, it was a step up from what I originally had. But then now seeing obviously where it's gone, it's amazing.
I mean, there's pros and cons to doing well, but I guess one of the cons is that there's pressure, there's all these things that you've talked about, but I guess you've just been too successful. So that's what happens.
Just need to stop winning.
Talk about the change and I guess the step up or the differences from Reading to Chelsea, and how, I guess, the obvious changes and also the emotional changes.
Yeah, it was a really tough decision not to join Chelsea and to be part of an amazing club, but to leave my hometown, to leave a club where my best friends played at, who I've known for, you know, I was at the club at Reading for around 14 years. Wow. You know, I grew up through their academy. I played under the same woman who I played under 12s, Kelly Chambers. Wow. Okay. So we've obviously built such an amazing relationship, and it's hard to have them conversations and kind of send a text message, because I was at the World Cup at the time. So everything was going on while I was at the World Cup, and to have to send that kind of text message saying, look, I don't even remember what I said. I think it was something like, I'm really sorry, but I want to go. Oh. And that was really tough, because obviously I had such fond memories of the club, and we were top of the league in the WSL2, hoping to get promotion. Yeah. So at the same time, obviously Reading were thinking, we're going to lose Fran, and how does that look for us? So, you know, they got promoted anyway, which was amazing for the club and the players. But yeah, emotionally, it was really, really tough. But I knew if I wanted to further my career, and that's always been my ambition, I had to do something else. And obviously Chelsea was the club that I could see that at the time happening for. So in terms of the club and the decision, it wasn't difficult, but leaving what I've known for so long, that was probably the hardest part of all of it.
And I guess, how daunting was it coming into Chelsea? Who were the big characters in the changing room? How did little Fran feel back then?
I was a mute, to be honest. I was an absolute mute. I came in injured from the World Cup, which also doesn't help the situation, because you don't kind of, for me, my whole life, I've built friendships and relationships by playing on the pitch.
Okay.
And that's where I express myself. That's where I'm most confident. And especially back then, I was really shy and really introverted, but on the pitch, I was completely different. Whereas now, obviously, I have a bit more confidence and a bit more maturity. So you're walking into a room and Gilly Flaherty's there, Kate Chapman's there, Eni Aluko's there, Claire Rafferty's there, Hedvig Lindau's there, Ji So Young. And I'm looking around, I'm like, I've watched these girls, you know, on TV or when I've gone to watch them play, and I'm actually now in changing rooms with these legends. And I remember when I went with an England camp, it was in La Manga, and I went as an under 23, and I got pulled into a meeting saying, you're going to go and train with seniors today. And I think I'd only been in like one or two under 23s camps. So I was like, whoa, like this is way out of my depth. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And the first person who came up to me and shook my hand and introduced themselves was Eni Aluko. And that has stayed with me when I first joined Chelsea, when, you know, me and Eni have had an amazing relationship, you know, throughout that time, and we still do now. And that will always stay with me. And that was probably one of the reasons why I wanted to come to this club, because someone actually took the time. And like, it wasn't like, you should know who I am, and shook my hand. It was like, hi, I'm Eni. Really nice to meet you. Like, it was a full introduction, and that just showed me the type of person and character Eni was. And, you know, ultimately I got on with all the Chelsea girls. So that played a big part in it. And obviously coming into that environment, you know, it was really special. Do
you try and do the same thing when new players come now?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more different now in terms of there's a lot more different nationalities than maybe it was back then. So I think back then it was predominantly English. Maybe G we had, Hedvig we had. You know, there was a couple that weren't English. So I think it's a lot more difficult now to communicate that much. But I mean, you can always, you know, introduce yourself, be polite, make them feel welcome. You know, I was speaking to some of the girls, like, if you need your car insurance sorted, like, you need to do this, or, you know, if you need an accountant, then, you know, I know a good one. And you can just, you know, help people get settled in that kind of way, instead of obviously how it was back then in terms of like, I knew everything anyway. But yeah, I think players have a big role in terms of welcoming people and making them feel settled.
And I want to touch on the fact that you said you were a mute, you weren't really speaking, you were introverted, you're not the same Fran that we see today. I guess if there's someone listening who has a similar personality, who it just takes a little bit longer to warm up, what were the things or what were the tips that you would give? Because it can feel daunting, or if you really want to play, but maybe there's not many women on the team that you're going to play, or there's not many girls and you're going into a boys team, you might feel the same things. What tips would you give to someone who is feeling that way?
I mean, I don't think there's an easy solution. For me, I had to do it the hard way. I was injured. So I realised I had to step out of my own comfort zone. And that would be the biggest thing, is I had to then realise I'm not going to make these relationships on the pitch. I've got to do more of it. And I have similar conversations now with players, and sometimes it's maybe just giving 2% more of what you're giving. You don't have to change your whole character to fit in, but is there 2% you can give? Is there something else that you can just slightly adjust to just make people understand you a little bit more? And for me, that was massive in terms of off the pitch anyway, because I knew I had to, if I didn't build them relationships and then I came to on the pitch and I started to act a certain way, people would be like, hold on. Like,
you're the shy girl.
Yeah, you're shy. Why are you shouting at me? Like, you shouldn't be shouting at me. You don't talk to me. So, you know, you have to get that respect on and off the pitch for people to, you know, understand you and respect you.
So what is Fran on the pitch like?
And I think you would get different answers. So much? I think you would get different answers if you ask different people, to be honest. I'm very demanding, I would say, of myself and of others. I'm probably a perfectionist, I would say. I really dislike when I don't play well, or if I don't feel like I have played at the level that I feel I can give, and I get quite frustrated in that. I'm a team player. I will always try and help the team as much as I can, whether that's on the pitch, off the pitch, my work rate, defensively. If I'm through on goal, if someone's in a better position, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably pass them the ball for them to score, you know, situations like that. But yeah, I think it's just my competitive nature. I'm so competitive. I hate losing, whether that's training, games, anything. I will try and win all the time, which is probably where I maybe get frustrated and people think that I'm too demanding.
Talk to me about your debut match. Do you remember it? What was it like walking out on the pitch? What was it like beforehand? What were the emotions on the drive in? Were you listening to music? What was going on?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't remember too much of the day, but I remember obviously getting told to warm up, to come on, because I didn't start the game, and we were winning at the time. So there wasn't much pressure coming in. It wasn't like a case of, right, I need you to go on and win me the game. Yeah. So that was quite a nice feeling coming on for your debut. And it was at Staines, which was a long time ago, and not many players in the team now have played at Staines. I loved it there. I thought it was great. I loved the atmosphere. And when I came on, I could hear the crowd were excited, because obviously I'd come in the summer and I could really feel that kind of feeling. And then I remember G getting the ball and I just saw a massive space. And I just ran into it, and I got the ball, and I was 1v1 with the goalkeeper, and I was like, you cannot miss. Like, if you miss, everyone is going to say, well, Fran Kirby can't even score a 1v1 when she's just signed for Chelsea. Like, it was like, luckily I had a good composure and, you know, faked the first shot and then shot and scored. And I remember just the relief of that moment, and just feeling like, yeah, okay, like, you're off, you're good, you're ready to go. And yeah, I was really, really proud on the way home that I was able to come in and score a goal.
I love just imagining that you were saying that to yourself. You cannot miss.
Yeah.
Is that how you speak to yourself? You'd go, you can't do this. You need to do.
Oh, if I had missed, I probably would have asked to get subbed again. It would have been one of them ones where the sub gets subbed.
I love that. I mean, it's good. You hold yourself to really high standards. I'm like learning a lot.
Yeah.
I'm learning
probably
a lot.
Too much, to be honest. I think sometimes I've had to have conversations with managers where they've said, like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, don't expect all the time you are going to be a solid 10 out of 10. But that's really hard for me. Like, if I misplace a pass, like, you can see that I'm angry at myself for doing that.
Okay.
But I can switch it off though. You know, like I get angry in the moment and then I'm like, right, okay, come on, next one.
Okay.
So I show the emotion, I show the anger, but then you move on to the next thing.
Okay. You're Chelsea women's top scorer. That's a feat in itself. When you think back to when you were joining, did you ever think back then, I'm going to be Chelsea's all-time top scorer?
No way. No way. I mean, I knew I had ability to score goals coming into the club because I had scored quite a few for Reading. But I always see myself as more of a playmaker, you know, someone that helps with goals. Of course, I love to score goals. It's a great feeling to score goals, but I never imagined where my game would go in terms of how many goals I would score and be able to score. And yeah, it's something that I'm hugely proud of. And it's something that, you know, I obviously believe that record will be broken by a certain someone who obviously is an amazing goal scorer. But for me to be able to have that journey with Chelsea and, you know, maybe the moments where we didn't have all of these facilities, we didn't have all of these things that we do now, to be able to continuously score goals for the club and, you know, help the club win trophies is something that I am really, really proud of and I will never, ever take for granted.
Let's talk about celebrations and in the changing room.
Yes.
What's that like?
Yeah, they're a bit crazy, to be fair. I think for us as players, obviously, we focus each game, you know, so we don't really get blown away with, you know, oh my God, if we win this game, then we could possibly, you know, win the title. But yeah, our celebrations in the changing room are quite fun. Obviously, Country Roads is always on when we win. Don't know if I should be saying this, but we're just in Jess Carter walk into the room. But I remember we were on a team night out after we'd won a trophy. And Country Roads came on when we were out. And honestly, I think everyone else had to like remove themselves from the dance floor because Chelsea women were just boom in the middle, jumping up and down. And it was just one of those moments when you're looking around, you're like, oh my God, what a team environment. Aww. What a culture. Because like literally like just so randomly, probably someone went and asked the DJ. It's normally me. It wasn't me. So I don't know where the song came from. But yeah, it was just one of the moments when I was just looking around and everyone was so happy. And I think that memory will stay with me forever, and obviously all the ones in the change room as well. But that one, I think, because it was that song, the whole team was out, and it was like literally like I think I probably pushed about 2 randoms off, and I was like, no, we're here. This is our moment.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Talk to me a little bit about what Emma was like, because obviously it's really sad. It's her last season here, but what's been the pivotal moments having Emma as the kind of big boss?
Well, Emma was the driving force for me to come here. She was so on it with me and made me feel really valued and made me feel that the club really wanted me. She really wanted me. And when you have a manager who's actively going out of their way to make you feel this way, you're like, yeah, I want to play for this person. I want to come into this environment because this person is selling it to me in such a way of you will fit in here. You know, you're going to win trophies here. And hearing that confidence and that drive, I was like, yes, like this is where I need to go. This is a manager who knows what she wants. She wants to win trophies. I want to win trophies. It's a no-brainer, really.
And do you think your mentality of pushing yourself and also being so competitive, does that go hand in hand with Emma? I feel like it would. And she didn't need to do much work on you, but she didn't need to kind of convince you or push you in those areas, because it sounds like you're similar.
No, absolutely not. And she still laughs now to this day. We had training the other day and we have a point system of every match day -1, and you get a point for every win. And we did one the other day in training where not everyone was out in training, but my team won. So I went over, I said, is that a point? Like, you know, I'm near the top of the leaderboard, or I am one of the top leaderboards. I'm like, I still want my points. That is the level that I go to. And she said, you will never change. So she knows from me 9 years ago to now, she knows that I am grinding out for these wins and I am grinding for these points.
Wow, you like to win. I mean, 5 league titles, 4 FA Cups, 2 League Cups and a Community Shield. Do you think you can pick...
And a Spring Series.
And a Spring Series.
I don't forget. Winner.
Winner. Chicken dinner.
Absolutely.
Can you pick out your personal favourite?
Okay. I'm gonna go from the beginning. Scoring my first goal.
Okay.
Obviously on my debut. Winning the league. Obviously. First time Chelsea had won it, which was really special. Scoring Chelsea's first Champions League goal. Yeah. It's definitely up there as one of my highlights, and being part of obviously the first campaign.
That must have felt incredible.
Yeah, it was a good one. And it's not normally a goal that I score either. It was outside the box.
Yeah.
Hit it quite hard. Hit the crossbar and went in. And I don't normally score goals like that. So that was a nice one to remember, to be fair.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Obviously, all the trophies. Winning at Wembley, you can't really compare to that type of feeling.
Let's talk about your first time playing at Stamford Bridge. How did that feel? What's the atmosphere like there?
Well, I remember the first couple of times we played, I was injured.
Okay.
So I didn't get a chance to play. And I was devastated. Absolutely devastated. Especially the second time, because we played there before and I accepted that I was injured and I couldn't play. And then I saw that we were playing at Stamford Bridge again and I was training, got injured again. I was like, oh my God, this is just not meant to be. And then obviously coming into the game at Stamford Bridge was an amazing feeling. And the crowd, hearing the crowd, it just is something that I will just never forget. And, for me, I always hold on to memories that I feel are more emotional rather than, everything else going on, and hearing people cheering and happy for me to come on and being part of that. It's something that I will never forget.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with the fans, because you've talked about the crowd there. How have they supported you? How do you see them? How do you view them?
They've been incredible through the whole thing. And I think, obviously there has been some frustrations, and I feel the frustrations in terms of my injury, in terms of my illness, in terms of all of that side of it. And I will never sit here and say, oh, why are you frustrated with me? Because I also get frustrated with myself that I'm not able to give them more. Because I feel for the whole journey, and those who have been there from the beginning and those who have joined along the way, they've always been so supportive of me and understanding. And yeah, like I said, when I'm coming into games and they're giving me the reception that they're giving me, or, I always hear them chant my song, and that's been there since I first joined to now. And it just really gives me a sense of, this is where I've been, this has been my home, and they've made it feel more like home than I probably ever could have imagined. So for me, the fans have been incredible, and I probably couldn't ask for any more support than what they've given me.
If you had to pick a game that stands out that you loved.
That I loved? Oh, there's a few. Definitely a few. The main one I would say was the Continental Cup final against Bristol, because it was on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And obviously I scored a goal, which was really nice. And obviously I could celebrate in a way to show that emotion. So that one would probably be my favourite. And obviously we won, which was amazing. But obviously Maran also had a really bad knee injury. So it wasn't my favourite, but it's favourite obviously for emotional reasons. And I'd probably say the Bayern Munich one at home, which then we went to the Champions League final. That was a pretty special one to obviously score right at the end. And I remember people after the game, they were like to me, but why didn't you shoot earlier when I went through? And I was like, because if I'd shot earlier and I'd missed, you would have...
Yeah, you'd have all come at me.
Yeah. So let me get to a place where I'm comfortable. All people kept saying to me after the game were like, why didn't you shoot earlier? So the ball went in. Stop.
That's got to be a really hard part of, I guess, the transition, because there wasn't much social media when I was growing up, and it's just got a lot more. And now in some ways the fans are so much closer, and it's great that you can just message Fran Kirby and you might like it, or you might message back. And even though you don't respond to everyone because there's so many, that has to be a really difficult part, because even though they're strangers and sometimes what people say, it doesn't mean anything, I feel as humans, we hold on to the negative more than we hold on to the positive. How do you deal with that amount of comments and just whether they're negative or positive, just saying something like that? You're like, I scored.
Yeah.
What is the problem?
Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, become a lot more open for people to write things on social media than obviously when I first joined Chelsea. To be honest, I would say when I first joined Chelsea, I still got quite a lot of messages, whether they were positive or negative.
Okay.
But I feel a lot of the time people write on social media negative things because not everyone always wants to be positive about people. So if I feel positive, I always think about reviews as well. Unless obviously you're actively going on, like say for a review for a restaurant. If everything's great, you probably won't go and write a review.
Yeah, you're right.
But if it's negative, you want to go on and tell everyone that it was bad and that they shouldn't go there and the forks were dirty or whatever it is. So I feel like that is a bit of contrast as well in terms of social media, in terms of I could score 2 goals in a game and go on social media and there's nothing there.
Right.
I could have a bad game and Chelsea fans are, oh no, she's not at the level anymore. We need to get rid of her. And you have to take that in and you have to, read that. And it's not easy. I would say for me over the last few years, it's definitely been a journey with social media in terms of in some moments it's really affected me and probably affected me too much. I've allowed it to affect me too much. Whereas obviously as you grow and you become more experienced and you understand, like I said to you now, like not everyone is going to be your fan. Not everyone likes the way you play, the way you look, the way you talk, the way you act. Do you smile at the camera? Do you walk past the camera?
Yeah.
Do you interact with fans? Do you not? Everyone is always going to have a judgment on you, even though they don't know you. And I think I had to learn that quite quickly of, not everyone is going to be happy for you and is going to like you.
That I do think that is a tough thing that the new generation will probably have. You'd have like media training, but now you probably have to have how do you deal with social media and someone else. I mean, I can understand why lots of athletes have someone else just deal with it and they don't look at it.
But like people go, oh, just ignore it. Well, yeah, you can just ignore it. But we always also think about the negative things about ourselves.
Yeah.
No one ever really sits there and go, I look great today. You don't say that to yourself. You look in the mirror and you go, oh, I look tired. You're already putting the negative thoughts into your own head. And then you read something where someone else is saying negative things about you. And then it spirals.
Yeah. Well, especially you, because you're driving a hard bargain on yourself, it sounds like.
I know, yeah. I'm awful about myself as well. Don't worry. I don't need anyone else to do it for me. If I've done a bad pass, I know.
Not awful, but you hold yourself to a very high standard. And so, I can imagine that would be really hard. I mean, you've been here 9 years. You've played with so many different players. Is there one player that sticks out in your mind that you think, oh, she was incredible?
Ji So-young.
Oh, really?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, look, I've played with some incredible players. The likes of, like I said, Eni Aluko, Claire Rafferty, Hedvig Lindahl. You're looking more recent, Pernilla Harder, Magda. Anna Borges, players who, incredible players. But G, for me, never got the recognition she deserved as a female footballer worldwide.
Okay.
I think she's someone that should have been in awards, winning awards every year she played at Chelsea. And I never felt she got given that recognition. I think towards the end she did, but still not enough.
Okay.
I think she, incredible... funny person, a bit of a diva. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But she'd go on the pitch and, incredible. I loved playing with G.
When you say diva, what was she like?
Throwing tantrums every now and then. To be fair, if we ever wanted more days off, we'd ask G. Because Emma would give G the days off. So after a huddle, for example, and we'd have a huddle obviously after every game, and G would be there, 2 days off? And we'd all be like cheering and Emma would be like, all right. But if I was to do it, it would just look silly. He'd be like, no, Fran, absolutely not.
I love that. Everyone needs a little G in her life.
Absolutely. We miss her. We want 2 days off.
You're one of the most recognisable faces in women's football. How have you managed to deal with that rise and I guess still maintain a level of somewhat normality in your life?
That was really hard. actually, for a period, because I felt at one point everyone wanted a piece. You know, when you're doing well and you're playing well, of course, everything else comes with it. And I think I struggled a lot with that in terms of being able to block that out and being able to focus on the football. And I think it took me a couple of months to be like, do you know what? No, you're a footballer. You're here to play football. You're here to play well. You need to park everything else. And that was quite tough, because I felt in the women's game there wasn't really that happening for many others. And I think for me, I was probably the first one that was kind of exposed to that in terms of media, in terms of all of that side of it. So I had to learn very quickly how to deal with that and how to park that to then focus on, you know, I had to have numerous conversations with my agents where they probably hate it. I was like, no, we're not doing any media. We're not doing any marketing in the next couple of months, because I need to focus on football. And being strong enough to do that is something obviously now that I can do. And I think maybe sharing them with the youth coming through to make them understand, look, first and foremost, you're a footballer.
Yeah.
If you give everything to footballer, look what you can achieve. And I had to have that conversation with myself to be like, look, no, like you're losing track of what's important, and that's football and that's winning.
So off the back of that, I guess, how important has the mental health side of it been? Because that's been a real journey for you. You've been really open about it. But for anyone else looking in, because we haven't walked in your shoes, what have you learned from what you were exposed to, I guess?
It's a good question. I would say I've learned that life is a journey. And it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be roses. And you never really know what's going on inside someone's head. And there are moments when I play in a game of football where maybe I'm not at the best headspace at that time. For whatever reason, it could be that, you know, there's been a build-up of games, there's something going on at home, I've had a fallout with someone, you know, everyone says, oh, be professional, don't bring it into work, don't bring it, absolutely. But it's hard sometimes to, you know, and I think that's something that everyone can learn from even now. Why, for example, for me, if I lose a game of football, I'm miserable. And of course, I want to show my appreciation to the fans and to everything they've done, but I am miserable. So don't expect someone to come over smiling at you and all happy and, oh yeah, amazing. I appreciate the fans more than you can ever imagine. But winning to me is what gives me that feeling. And I think it's the case for many girls in the team as well. Maybe like they haven't had the best game or whatever, and maybe they get a bit of scrutiny for not signing things, for not smiling. And sometimes it's understanding what maybe that person is going through. Yeah. Or maybe just allowing, do you know what? She's not in the right place right now. And that's fine. Of course, if you bring it over and over and over and over and over, then, you know, then maybe you need to look to actually go and get some sort of help in terms of dealing with that emotion. But it's just everyone understanding that everyone is in different spaces, and not everyone is open and comfortable changing the way that they are to suit what everyone else's needs are.
Yeah, it's a very good point. You never know what someone's going through, and you just expect, I guess. My next question has to be on how you want to inspire the next generation, because everything that you've done, I mean, I haven't even touched on it, but not just at Chelsea, with the Lionesses, it's obviously propelled the game to a different level. Do you feel that pressure, and how do you want to inspire the next generation, the next Fran Kirby's coming up?
I want to inspire them to win, to want to be winners, to want to push themselves to their limits, to be competitive, to be a good person, to be a good teammate. I think all of these things are my core values. How can I be a good teammate, and how can I win? And for me, that has driven me to probably pushing myself so much so that when I come into training, I can train the hardest that I can, whether I'm playing, whether I'm not playing. If I'm not playing, I'm making your life hell, because they're going to make your life hell on Sunday. That's my mindset. It's never easy. It's never, oh, I'm not playing, so I'm not going to try. It's how can I be my best? Because, by the way, on Sunday, you're coming up against another European champion, or someone who's been voted as one of the best players in the world. So how can I make it difficult for you? And I think that is especially at a club like Chelsea or a club where, that you're looking to win titles, you need players that are going to push the other players to want to have the same ambitions and the same drive. So if I'm showing that after winning the trophies that I have and I still can give that every day, then hopefully that inspires people to go, do you know what, if she does it, maybe then I can go and win X amount of WSLs, X amount of FA Cups. And that's where a club like Chelsea should be aspiring to do.
I mean, I just need to give a moment to, after every one of your answers, I'm like, I need to keep that in for me and my life. My last question, because I do have to wrap you, you're a busy woman. What do you want your legacy to be? And I guess, how iconic do you want the number 14 to be?
Yeah, I mean, the number 14 is iconic to me anyway, regardless on what happens with the club and the number 14 at the club. It's something that, when I first took the number, I took it obviously for a specific reason.
Which
I remember
was?
My mum's birthday.
Oh.
So I remember Emma messaged me, and I was originally 11 at Reading.
Okay.
And obviously Claire Rafferty had number 11, so there was no way I was going to come in and say, do you know what, Raf? Give me that number, please. And Emma messaged me and said, look, 11's not available. Like, these are the numbers that we have available. Like, what do you think? And I saw the 14. I said, I would love to have number 14 because it's the same day as my mum's birthday. And that was just kind of it. And I think as I've progressed with the club and achieved more, it's become so much more than just, I'll take number 14.
Yeah.
It's just become embedded in who I am and what I am. And yeah, I think for me to be able to leave this shirt in a good place and in a place where whoever, ends up having the shirt will know what it means and will hopefully give as much as I have done to the club and be able to carry on, obviously, what I have done with the number. I think that would be really special. And yeah, I mean, for me, legacy is someone who just gave everything for the shirt and everything for every team that I played with, all the players that I played with. And that, when people talk about you, they don't just talk about you as a footballer. They talk about you as a person. They talk about your character. They talk about how you were in the team environment. And that is what I want to be remembered for in this building. How I interacted with everyone, how I was with the kitchen staff, the media staff, the security. Was I smiling when I came in? Did I wave when I came in? All of these things are important to me. So hopefully, that is something that my legacy leaves people going, do you know what? Yeah, great footballer, but even better person.
I want you to be my life coach.
Maybe my job after football.
I love it. It's just so brilliant. I'm going to be like smiling and waving at everyone I meet today. I'm going to be like, I'm a great person, but I'm a brilliant person, actually. Oh, no, I'm going to say I'm a somewhat great footballer.
I've somewhat got some ability.
Ability as a footballer, but a great person. Fran, you have been such a special guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for listening to We Are Chelsea. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back with more episodes with Chelsea's top players. We'll see you soon.